today we're going to look at an important concept called make or buy. Okay, this is relevant for the exam. Before I start, you should study the case study, chapter 4 onwards. Okay, for the exam. Okay, in chapter 4, 5, 6, or 7, and 7, the future state of the case is developed. So this I will be asking in the exam, so please study it, and if you have questions, come back to me. Okay, so this is self-study topic. Please study chapter 4, chapter 5, 6, and 7 for the exam. The PDF is available, you have it. They can ask any question that you want. So today we are going to look at make or buy, today and tomorrow. Okay. In the process of carrying out business activities of an organization, a component, product, or service can be made within the organization, make, okay, so you make it yourself, or can be bought from a supplier. Buy. Okay. So in any given situation, can you hear me? Yes, right? In any given situation, the organization should evaluate and this is what we do, make or buy decision making, each alternative make or buy for the portfolio and select those that result in lower cost, lower knowledge loss, and so on. In the long run, so here I make 1 point every important concept. So in the long run, this is like an introduction. In the long run, the make or buy decision is not static. Okay. The make option of a product may be economic today, but after some time it may turn to be uneconomical to make the same product for instance, the demand changes, supply chain is unstable, because of geopolitical reasons or a pandemic. I don't know, there are many different reasons. The result, so this is number 1, number 2, number 3, and this is concept number 4. I guess you can follow, right? Thus, the make or buy decision should be reviewed periodically. Every year to every 3 years. Okay. In order to cope with the changes in the level of competition and environmental factors. Okay. Is it understandable? Please give feedback. Can you follow? Okay, thank you. Okay, so make sure you, as I said, I repeat for those that came late, make sure you study the case study, chapter 4 onwards. Okay, this is important for the exam. I will definitely be asking about it in the exam, and you need to prepare chapter 4, 5, 6 in detail. If you have questions, let me know. So basically, we have here a game of suppliers. Okay, it's always the same, the supplier and the customer. And we want to know if we are going to make it ourselves or we're going to buy it from a supplier. Okay, so this is the biggest question, make or buy. And it's actually one of the fundamental issues that a supplier manager needs to take care of. Some of you will work as supplier managers, so this will be your daily bread, and that's why I'm going to have some detail on it. And yeah. Let's paint it pretty. So we don't know if we want to make or we want to buy. And we're going to learn some criteria to try to discern and make the decision that is correct for our business. But this decision needs to be reviewed, and that's what I'm trying to say. It needs to be reviewed every year to every 3 years, regularly at least, to make sure that we are on the right path. Okay, things can change in business, and by adjusting our decision making, we can get better results. All right, so are we cool with that? Please give some feedback, just very short. Can you follow the arguments? Okay, I don't hear anything, so I guess yes. Let's start with the criteria, okay? This is just the first part of the thing. This is qualitative. Criteria for make or buy decision. Later on, probably tomorrow, we will look at the quantitative criteria. Okay, so we will look at more math behind. So let's start with the make. criteria for make. So let's say we have, let me get the structure right. We have one criteria for make is that the finished product or service can be made cheaper. So the cost, sorry, by the firm than by outside suppliers, right? The issue here is that the word cheaper or cost, so please be careful, be very, very careful, because here you need to calculate at the overall supply chain cost. Okay? Look at the overall, you need to look at the overall supply chain cost. You cannot look only at the production cost, because if you only look at the production cost, the supplier might be cheaper, but you might have supplier issues along the way that will make your product in the end way more expensive. I'll give you an example, okay, just derived from our case study. Imagine you have one factory in Mexico, okay, another factory in China, you ship to the US, let's say here with a truck once a week, and here you ship also, you have an inventory of with a ship, okay, twice a week, and then you ship every let's say once a month, you ship to Germany, so the fact that your supplier in Mexico or in China is able to produce cheaper than yourself in Germany doesn't mean that the overall supply chain cost is cheaper, okay? Because here you have a total lead time, let's say, for let's say, I don't know, 6 weeks, okay? And if we say the production cost is it's, I don't know, €1 in Mexico per unit and €0.5 per unit in China. The US adds, I don't know, €2 per unit. And in Germany we have, let's say, €6 per unit. It might lead that the total lead time leads to problems in the supply chain, and changes in the demand in the German customer would lead to higher cost overall. Okay, so even if in Germany we have higher cost, we have an overall cost producing in Germany that is lower because of the total supply chain cost. So here, be careful when you look at the cost of a make or buy decision, because you need to look at the overall cost. Is this concept understood? It's very important. So another reason to make a make decision is that the demand variability at the customer is high. So if in this case your production should be more responsive, and this is difficult sometimes in buy situations. Okay. Another reason to make a make decision is that the overall demand variability increases along the supply chain. Okay. If the overall demand variability increases along the supply chain, then it is good to be flexible along the value stream and produce as closer as possible to the customer. The last point is when inventory increases, quality goes down. Think of Little's Law. I give you an example. When I was working for a car company, we were producing in South Africa our raw material. Then this was shipped to the US to machining and assembly. Then this was shipped to Germany for final assembly. Whenever a problem occurred in the production process in South Africa, all the supply chain was infected with problems, and this led to immense cost because you need to start flying your products. Okay, so be careful with decisions and make sure you take the overall cost into consideration. So let me put it here even when the cost per unit at the supplier is smaller than the cost per unit at the own facility, this does not mean automatically that buy is better. Okay, we need to take all cost into consideration. Logistics, quality, and so on, as put above. Okay. Does it make sense for you? Please give me some feedback. I cannot see your face. Is that okay? Is it understood? Yeah. Well, I hear nothing. So criteria for well, I guess this was the first. Let's say we continue. Number 5. More criteria for make the finished product is being manufactured only by a limited number of outside firms which are unable to meet demand or flexibility requirements. Okay. Here you need to be looking at supply chain network structure. You can do it with the average path length. Okay, so you can measure that, or the clustering coefficient, or both of the network structure. You know how to calculate it. You can look at EPI, every part, every interval. And measure, therefore, flexibility towards the customer. And you need to be looking at capacity. For that, you need to look at the cycle time, at the changeover time, and you need to look at machine reliability of the supplier. Okay. There is also a sixth reason why we may be wanting to make the product ourselves. So maybe the part, the product or service has an importance for the firm and requires extremely close cut quality control. Okay. So if the part is strategic, for your survival, usually make it. Okay. Number 7. Number 7 is the part can be manufactured with the firm's existing facilities. Okay. And is similar to other items in which the company has manufacturing experience. If that is the case, it's easy money. Make it. Okay. So, does it make sense? This 7 criteria. One typical question in the exam is, please give me the criteria to make, qualitative criteria to make or buy. Okay. But what if those criteria are not given? Then we can go and say, what are the criteria for buy? Okay. So, well, let me put another color so that you can study better. So the first criteria that sometimes it's recommended to buy instead of making yourself is that the product or service requires investments on facilities which are already available at the potential supplier's plant. Okay, so if your supplier already has the machines that and the equipment and the people that know how to do it, why would you need to invest in the whole game anew? Okay, so you can just call the supplier and say, okay, what's your price for the product? Please interrupt me if it doesn't make sense or if you have any questions, okay? Bitte frag nach, wenn irgendwas keinen Sinn macht, oder? So the second reason is that the company does not have facilities to make it, the product or service, and there are more profitable opportunities for investing the firm's capital so you need to look at your cash flow and return on invest, what some people call the break-even analysis. We will do later on, okay? Does it make sense? Yes, thank you. The third issue here, the third condition that it might be, of course, this is only, everything is qualitative, okay? Nothing is just firm. Existing facilities of the company can be used more economically to make other parts. Okay, so wir nutzen unsere Fläche für andere wirtschaftlichere Produkte oder Services. Wir nutzen unsere, we use our factory for different products or services that are better and more profitable. The people, also it can be that the people, skills employed by the company are not sufficient or adaptable to make the new part. Okay. This can also be that we don't have the knowledge to make the new part, so we need to buy it. This is interesting, usually in high-tech environments, so chips and companies that have special knowledge. There are maybe patent or legal barriers that prevent the company from making the part. So, einen Moment, die Krankenschwester klopft. Un moment. No, ¿puede pasar en 10 minutos, por favor? Vale, gracias. Entschuldigung. So there are legal or patent barriers that do not allow us to make the part, okay? And so we need to buy it if we can, if we are allowed to. And number 6, is that demand might be either temporary or seasonal. Therefore, it is not profitable to invest in the capacity to produce ourselves. Okay, so if the product is seasonal, so we have seen the alternatives between make or buy. Questions? Make or buy? And there is a third alternative, if we have enough money, is buy the supplier company. Buy the supplier all the way, okay? Think of Facebook and WhatsApp, what they did, okay? Just buy it, buy the company. If you have enough cash, you can just throw them the cash and you get the company and get the product yourself. Okay? Any questions so far? So it's difficult for me to know if you understand, so please just make your microphone on and ask questions, okay? Don't worry, you can interrupt me anytime. Yes. Yeah, of course. What? To the make? Yeah, okay. To where? What for? Yeah. Yes. Yes. Yeah, if yeah, finish, please. Yeah, so basically this means that, yeah. No, go ahead. Sorry, I thought you were finished. Mm-hmm. Yeah, imagine that you have a supplier here. This is your supplier, and you are here. You're the customer, okay? And you're measuring inventory levels in between, independently of the supply chain process that you have. Okay, you have here, I don't know, let's say maybe a shipped, then you have a train, then you have a truck, then you have a cross dock, then you, I don't know, a bunch of supply chain processes. Okay, we know that the inventory work in progress goes up. This means automatically that the lead time goes up, and this means automatically that the quality goes down because of Little's law. Okay, can you follow? So this is just an indicator, okay? So it doesn't mean that when the inventory goes down, you need to change to make, okay? But one way to cut the increase of inventory, so when the inventory increases, be aware, because you will experience at some point a decrease in your quality level. So one way to cut the increase of the inventory level in the supply chain is to make it yourself, right? Because then you are not depending on the supplier anymore. Does it make sense? Yeah, of course. If you do that, if you decide to keep buying and having a better process, then be my guest. I don't say this is wrong. I think that the criteria for buying, if you want to put it like that, is that if you are able to create a process, let's include it. Okay, let's put here a seventh criteria. If you are able to create a process that can be optimized, okay. I'm going to erase this. If you are able to, Christian, if you are able to make a process that can be optimized in such a way that you can make it useful. So let's say, as you say, supply just in time, just in sequence process, okay? Then we can say criteria to buy is we can work with the supplier a new process out that is just in time, in sequence, and is effective and flexible enough to ensure our customer demands. So if you can do it, sure. The supplier will always pretend that they can do it. The problem is that it's a difference between what people tell you and what people do later on, okay? It is very difficult to have a supplier that can react with flexibility if they are sitting in the other part of the world. So basically what you're saying is correct. However, be careful because it's not always possible to make things effectively and flexible enough. Does it make sense? Yeah, by doing this, you can reduce the variability and you can reduce the lead time and you can reduce the work in progress and so on and so forth. And this is basically, Christian, this is basically the chapter 4 and chapter 5 and 6 of the book, okay? This is what that's about, okay? That's why I want you to study it in detail because it's basically the way things work. Try to make things more flexible by doing just-in-time, just-in-sequence processes. So basically what you're saying is correct. Yeah. Does it make sense? Thank you. So we start now with the quantitative. Criteria. For make or buy. Okay, so we start with the most simple one, excuse me, and we continue later on tomorrow with the rest of the other two. There are a number of 3 all in all. And yeah. By the way, are you getting the PDFs correctly? Because some of you wrote me that you're not getting the PDFs. Are you getting the PDFs with the email every time? Hello? You don't get them? And why is that? Okay. Nach jeder Vorlesung verschicke ich den PDF mit den Inhalten. Kriegt ihr die E-Mails von mir? Ja? Letzte Woche nicht. Okay, gut. Wurde nicht gesendet. Ja, ich hab's nur am Donnerstag verschickt, nicht am Mittwoch. Okay, ich verschicke die alle nochmal, okay? Falls ihr die nicht kriegt, bitte gebt mir morgen Bescheid, weil dann gibt es ein Problem in dem System. So, we do simple cost analysis. Okay, this is the first. Let's say we have a company has extra capacity that can be used to produce a product which it has been buying for 900 euros each. Okay. If the company makes the product, it will incur material cost of 300 euros per unit, labor cost of 250 euros per unit, and variable cost overhead of 100 euros per unit. The annual fixed costs associated with unused capacity is 1 million euros. Demand over 1 year is 5,000 units. Should we make or buy? Okay, this is what we do. So this is the problem, the challenge. We have the data, and I can ask you, please make me a simple cost analysis to make or buy. Okay, so what is the cost to make? And what is the cost to buy? This is what we analyze in this first simple cost analysis. The cost to make, we have a variable cost per unit of material plus labor plus overhead. This equals 300 plus 250 plus 100 euros per unit. So this is 650 euros per unit. Okay. So the total variable cost is the 650 euros per unit times 5,000 units a year. Okay, this is the variable cost per unit times the demand. This equals 3,250,000 euros. Okay, and fixed cost of the capacity is 1 additional million. So the total cost to make is 4,250,000 euro. Okay, this is quite straightforward. What is the cost to buy? What is the cost to buy? Cost to buy is purchase cost meaning the price per unit times the demand equals price per unit 900 euros per unit times the demand 5,000 units equals 4,500,000 euro plus fixed cost capacity €1,000,000 fixed cost capacity. So as a result, we get a total cost for buy equal 5,500,000 euro. So because the total cost to make is smaller than the total cost to buy, we should make the product. Okay? Questions? Questions, please. And this should be the answer in the exam. Okay? This makes sense? You're cool with it? All right, then tomorrow morning we continue with the make or buy quantitative methods, and we will look at some math behind it. Okay, if you have your notes on economic order quantity from other semesters, bury them out. We will need them. All right, well then, thank you very much for your time. Stay safe and healthy. Bye-bye.